Hi, my name is Mike and I am one of the in-house education consultants here at the Profs. And in today's video, as part of a series of videos to help you ace those tough Oxbridge interviews, I'm going to be talking about Oxford's mathematics interview. Or specifically, just to clarify, the interview you have to take in order to study mathematics at Oxford. Now, this is a very, very interesting one because not only with Oxford can you study mathematics on its own, but you can study mathematics with a whole bunch of other subjects, including computer science, including statistics, including philosophy, just to name a few. So it's a very, very interesting one to be able to get into. If you're in a position where you're actually getting ready or you anticipate maybe taking the interview for Oxford's mathematics course and you like what you hear and see, then feel free to like and subscribe. Or if you have any questions ready with this video, or you basically want to be very, very kind and show your appreciation for what is discussed, then please leave a comment and we would love to be able to hear from you. But with the time that I got in this video, I'm going to name my top 5 tips, or number my top 5 tips as to how to ace this particular aspect of your application. Now, the very, very first tip that I'm actually giving with this video, as well as a whole bunch of other ones actually for Oxbridge interviews, is make sure you understand possible interview structures. This can differ a little bit more than the Cambridge one, again, just because of the flexibility of being able to combine mathematics with other things. But generally speaking, if you're just doing maths or you're hoping to only do maths and nothing else, then you're going to be looking at a pure maths interview and an applied maths interview for the majority of colleges. Again, as I've said in my Cambridge maths interview video, which if that is something that you're getting ready for instead, feel free to click on the link here. But if you are looking specifically at the Oxford maths interview, again, pure maths and applied maths is what you should expect for different interviews, but it will vary on the college. It will vary on the person that is asking you the questions. And with a lot of those intricate details, you're not going to find that out until possibly a few weeks, maybe before you even have to attend your interview. So safest to think maths and apply, like pure maths and applied maths, if you're doing straight maths. If you're doing maths and something else, say like maths and philosophy, for instance, expect maybe I would perhaps expect 2 interviews still, but in terms of how they can be broken down, it's going to vary. And by the way, I should say each of these Oxbridge videos that we're discussing, usually between 20 and 30 minutes long there. So it's not a crazy amount of time, actually, when we look at it objectively. But let's say you were going for maths and philosophy, you might have an interview that looks at mathematics, and it might specifically look at some application of mathematical logic in there, which can cross over with philosophy very, very well. And maybe the second interview could perhaps like focus a little bit more on the personal statement, or any like sort of maybe like a general discussion about like the nature or existence, for instance, depending on what you specify your enthusiasm in philosophy to be, or at least where the crossover between that and mathematics is for you. So it can vary a lot, but actually you want to be treating sort of mathematics with another subject, if you have an interview for that, in sort of, as preparation in equal quantities. And I think usually at the early stages, it's best to imagine you have a single interview in maths and a single interview in your other subjects that you're going to be studying it with until you hear any further information. Now, my second top tip for getting ready for an interview like this is actually just assessing what interviewers actually look for. Maybe assessing is not the right word for it, but just maybe like digging deep, sort of doing a little bit of research into what actually they look for in their candidates. And there are going to be a few things that are obvious. So the ability to problem solve in unfamiliar contexts is a huge thing as a mathematician, but also, in other subjects too, like the ones we've already mentioned. The ability to think out loud is really important, because if I was a tutor and I was trying to guide you to a correct solution in the middle of a tutorial, I want to know what your thought processes are. Your ability to respond to hints is also something that is really, really important. Let's say I offer you some advice and you don't pick up on it and you don't necessarily follow that, then it could be that you're just expecting me at some point to give you the entire answer. And in tutorials, that often does not happen. You have to do a little bit of the work to get there yourself, because they want you to exercise your ability to think critically with problems. That does not happen if we spoon feed answers. But I wouldn't necessarily worry if we don't necessarily know like what a particular answer is. We have to play, again, detective a little bit. Work out what we can know already from the information that we've been provided, and see what we can do from there. Again, breaking down problems into smaller steps is crucial with this. And it also makes problems a little bit less scary to attempt too, which is quite nice. And then, of course, beyond anything else, subject passion. I got to see in person that you really, really love your subject. It's not enough that I can read from a bit of paper that says that you really, really love mathematics. I want to see in person how you talk about mathematics as a subject. If you're not sure how to do that, that will make me question on, maybe unfairly, whether you really love the subject at all. And if you're not entirely sure still on why you love a particular subject and you've been granted an interview, maybe go back to that personal statement that you wrote as a little bit of inspiration as to where to start with that. But maybe just spend a little bit of time working out, what you particularly like about the subject, and, in the context of why you want to study at university, why that is that a really, really good thing for you to be able to do. And that can't be down specifically in an Oxbridge interview to, work prospects, or the idea that you want to go to Oxford because you want to just say you went somewhere prestigious and you want to earn lots of money, which is an example of a direction you don't want to go down, and there's quite a few of them. So do make sure that you're really, really strong in your motivations moving forward. That very, very nicely connects with my third top tip. That's actually just reviewing your personal statement, as well as any previous admissions test papers, some of which you may have already taken. Others you haven't needed to take because they've been for other courses, but could still be based in mathematics. And in fact, if you are interested in taking, or sort of getting advice on how to ace any of the admissions tests, maybe you're looking at this really, really early, or you're preparing for next year, we have a really, really great playlist actually that covers STEP papers, MET papers, CSAT papers, PATs, you name it, we probably have it at this point. So definitely have a look at those just to see particular bits of advice in terms of how to perform well on those. But in terms of getting ready for an interview, you're going to be looking at these papers slightly differently. You still want to continue the practice of looking at challenging questions, but now you're getting to a position where you're actually wanting to speak your ideas out loud. Maybe you can film yourself attempting a question, and you're literally talking through every single step of what you're doing. Kind of similar to how I'm actually, breaking down maybe the process of preparing for an interview. Again, I'm compartmentalizing, I'm being nice and clear, and I'm making sure that every sentence that I give, it doesn't always happen, maybe just like that. But it's always really, really important to be clear and concise if you're worried about speaking just a little bit. And it's good to do that with these admissions test papers. Record yourself doing it, watch yourself back. Are you clear? Do you look relaxed? Are your shoulders down? If somebody was in front of you, are you making... You don't necessarily have to look at the person all the time, but let's say I was, working on a question and somebody was right there, sort of asking me maybe to elaborate on something or provide maybe context of what I've written down before. So in those direct discussions where I'm asked to elaborate, I'm going to look at the person, I'm going to be nice and relaxed. I think it's okay if I take maybe 5 to 10 seconds sometimes to think about what I want to say. But making sure, and this is the biggest thing that you definitely don't want to do, is stay silent. Even when you've been asked to talk, or even then, make sure you don't give one-word answers or two-word answers for things. Open questions mean that I want a few sentences to be spoken to sort of explain your understanding or explain your approach to a problem. It's going to be very difficult to do if you're only limiting your answers to yes or no. or you're fine, or something very, very short, which kind of cuts off conversation. So that is something that should be practiced fairly early on if that's something you're not particularly used to. Around that, tip number 4, self-studying and reading is really important to continue with. You already would have talked about some amazing pieces of literature and engagement with that at this point already in your personal statement. Again, as part of knowing that inside and out and anticipating the kinds of questions that you could be asked by a tutor in regards to what you mentioned in that, one of those, the questions could do with your self-studying and your reading that you've mentioned. Those are 2 big areas that sort of come up, as well as maybe mathematics competitions that you do take part in. So if you obviously are getting ready for maybe the senior maths challenge this year, and you happen to get another gold, maybe that's something that you can mention, but you could talk about like particular topics as part of that you really, really enjoyed, or something from the BMO one if you are making entry into that, which is really, really cool. But even then, the preparation of maybe like for the competitions, which will involve reading mathematics like competitions books still, is something that is good, because again, it's another way to evidence your enthusiasm for the subject, but it also shows that you haven't just been working to the submission of your personal statement to show that you've been engaging in supercurriculars. You've still got to do this all the way up to your interview, because I want to see that you are, you really, really love the subject long term. You're not necessarily interested in just trying to make a good impression in the short term. So assessing your supercurriculars for this term after you've submitted, just double checking that you're doing everything that you should be doing as if you were submitting a personal statement later on down the line is a really good idea to do at these early stages. And finally, if you're a little bit confused about where to start with your preparations, I know there's a lot that I mentioned in this video alone, then why not actually hire an admissions tutor like myself to help you with your preparations? I went to the University of Cambridge. I did the part 3 there in mathematics. It was a lot of fun, but already from the environment there, I understand the caliber of people that they are looking for, what tutors are looking for, particularly in their applicants. And I'm not alone in this. There are lots of other people here that have also graduated from Oxford or Cambridge. Many of us have master's degrees. A few of us are also PhD students, or PhD graduates rather, as well as lecturers from prestigious universities. So we have an incredible roster of tutors here with a very, very good wealth of expertise across all of the tutors that we have. And we'd love to be able to help you in any way that we can, should you want to reach out to us. So I'm sad to say we've come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe in order to hear the latest information about university applications as well as tutoring services. If you have any questions yourself or any opinions about how some of these things are working, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section, or even share it with a friend or family member if you think they might be interested. But if you want to hear directly from us, have a look at the contact information on screen right now. And as always, best of luck with your application.